Hi, and welcome back to the Optimized Career Solutions YouTube channel. I'm Kara Dennison, and this week is the last week of 2023. And so we have been talking about all this month of December, how to really prepare and set yourself up for success for a career advancement in the new year. And this week we are going to be talking about work-life harmony and specifically how to navigate the emotional journey to achieve that work-life harmony. If you haven't checked out our podcast, the Career Advancement Academy podcast, yet, this week we've talked about why seeking work-life balance is a mistake in the new year, and instead how we can focus on work-life harmony. Far too often people focus on, I gotta have that work-life balance. I really am seeking it. But when you're trying to balance, there's always going to be this mismatch between, okay, I need more work, I need more life, whatever that priority is that day, right? And so how can we achieve that work-life harmony where things are in flow and you're in alignment in both areas of your life? And so we want to talk about that emotional journey to achieve that work-life harmony so that you're prepared and you can really gain that self-awareness and that emotional intelligence when it comes towards achieving that work-life harmony, right? This whole week, month, and last month, we've talked about some really mindset strategies and ways to advance your career. And we're going to be touching on a couple of those today as well. And so I understand this is tough, right? I want to make sure that you know that if we're not really making this a priority to harmonize your life, set those boundaries, it can really lead to burnout. And according to the World Health Organization, employee burnout results from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been effectively managed. If you're not aware of this and you haven't been taking steps towards it, you can lean towards burnout. Burnout is also characterized by exhaustion, negativity towards your job, and that sense of underachievement. If you're starting to feel completely checked out from your role, from your job, from your organization, that can be a sign of burnout, especially if you're also feeling resentment, anger, a lot of emotions towards it. This is going to be a sign of burnout. And if you're even past that point where you're just feeling numb, that's a surefire way that you're getting burnt out. Overcoming burnout is integral to maintaining that work-life harmony, and it requires proactive measures, right? It requires taking care of yourself, and I'm not just talking bubble baths and chocolates and taking a nap every once in a while. It means really setting yourself up for success, setting those boundaries in place, and really having those right strategies so that you are achieving that work-life harmony to take care of yourself. And if this is something you're struggling with, let me be the one to tell you that if you're not taking care of yourself, no one else is. Okay, your toxic workplace is not going to be the one to look out for you. If you're, especially women, right? If your role is taking care of everyone else in your life and you're putting yourself last, who is putting you first? If you're not the one doing that, it is very common and almost a surefire way that you're going to burn out, and it's going to perpetuate the situation because you're putting these expectations on yourself that you need to be the one to take care of everyone else. And when you do burn out, you're going to compound that burnout with guilt and shame because you can't meet the expectations that you already set for yourself. So let's explore some strategies and also let go of that limiting belief that you have to be the hero or the high achiever that has to do it all. Because what's going to be more important and a more healthier way of moving into the new year is realizing what you can take care of and what maybe is not necessarily on your plate, and ways where you can set those boundaries, overcome that burnout, take care of yourself in the day-to-day so that you can go in and achieve actually more while also enjoying and getting some fulfillment out of your life, right? So first, I need you to acknowledge whether or not you are feeling that burnout, right? Are you constantly feeling tired? Are you feeling detached from your job? Are you experiencing a drop in your performance? Are you feeling that detachment, that numbness, that resentment, right, towards your role? Whereas before, maybe you were a high performer, maybe you were that person that continually does it all. If you're feeling that energy depletion, that exhaustion, if you're increased mental distance from your job or feeling negative or cynicism is related to your job, or if you're sensing ineffectiveness or lack of accomplishment, all of these things can be signs of burnout. For myself, I was getting burnt out by working 60, 70-hour weeks, working on the weekends, always being on call, answering every text message, email, phone call that came in at any hour of the night. And for myself, what happened is I'm prone to migraines, but I had a migraine that lasted for 6 weeks. And I thought that there was something medically wrong. And I went and I got every scan. I talked to neurologists at highly respected institutions. And it wasn't until someone in a white coat told me, hey, we'll give you medications, we'll help you manage this. But if you don't start doing something to take care of yourself and minimize the stress in your job, this is going to keep perpetuating. And it wasn't until someone said that to me that my eyes opened and I realized this is not healthy for me. I can't keep going at these sustained levels, keep pushing myself, keep mentally telling myself just one more. I can just keep going. One more thing off my to-do list. And I knew I was feeling it. I felt like I was white knuckling my life, my job. And I would fluctuate between, okay, I can do this. I'm being promised a promotion, even though it never came, right? Kept working for the carrot put in front of me and then vacillating between that and what does this even matter? I'm so exhausted. I don't even care what happens to me. And that gets very dangerous because depression, anxiety, those things start coming in and you start getting very nihilistic. You don't care. You don't care about what happens. And those things get very, very dangerous. And if you find yourself in a position like I was, we need to take some deliberate steps so that you can decrease the effects of your burnout. So here are some tips to help you out throughout the day. Some of these might be easier to implement than others depending on where you are in your burnout. The first is to really implement regular breaks throughout your day. If you are like me, I used to just sit there at my desk and just say, okay, one more task, one more minute, one more thing, one more accomplishment, one more thing to get done, one more project, one more phone call. And then all of a sudden, 10, 12, 14 hours go by and I hardly ever got up from my desk unless I was using the restroom. That's a problem because our brains can only go for so long before we need to rest them for a minute. So short walks, stretching, just stepping away from your desk, looking up and looking out the window, all of these things can help you integrate some harmony into your life and take those needed breaks that we need to give our brains when we're focusing on things. This also includes getting good night's sleep at night so that our brains can have that restful sleep in order to process what we've been through out that day. Another thing is to really seek support. Seek support when it's needed. Talking to a professional, a therapist, a coach, someone when it is feeling like too much to handle. But not just that, when it comes to, that's on the personal life, but when it comes to in your job, talking to a supervisor, your boss, your manager about adjusting your workload if you're noticing you're taking on too much, right? Seeking that professional advice, that therapist from people to help you set those boundaries. And if you need some language to help you out with your boss, if you're taking on too much and you feel very overwhelmed, you're burning out, it's okay and acceptable for you to say, hey, boss, I understand that what you're bringing to me is a priority. However, here's everything else that's on my plate. Can you help me reprioritize what's on my plate so that I can execute on what you're giving me now? That's absolutely acceptable to say. The other thing that I highly recommend is implementing a hobby or an interest outside of work, right? Something that gives your brain and yourself something to look forward to throughout that week. For those who are high achievers, leaders, workaholics, right? Like myself, sometimes all you do is think about work, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? All you're doing is you're thinking about work, you're on your phone thinking about work, you're looking up ways to move forward that project, and you can find that it consumes all of your life. So being able to re-divert your attention into something that isn't work, that allows your brain to process in the background, is actually going to allow you to be more innovative and creative. And in fact, I like to tell people, if you play video games, great. It's a problem when you become obsessed with it and it takes you away from your work and the things that you need to get done for the day, right? Your household chores or whatever. But it's actually a good thing to play video games because it allows you to move away if you're a workaholic and a high achiever and you're burning out, because it allows your brain to refocus on something else while it allows in the background in your subconscious to process through, and you're still activating those problem solving skills so that you're actually activating those neurons and those neural pathways to activate problem solving skills in a different area, which allows you to be innovative in your work area. So any type of hobby where you can activate your brain in a different type of way outside of work actually makes you more productive in work too, and gives your brain a rest from focusing on the same problem over and over and over again. Other ways to help yourself out is, listen, getting a good night's sleep. How do you do that when you find that you are working all of the time and burning out? Well, it's going to be setting boundaries. It's going to be setting up yourself with a success schedule, setting yourself into time blocks. Here's when you're working on this project. Here's when you're working on this project. I take meetings from here to here, and shutting off when you can at the end of the day. That means turning your phone on silent, not answering emails when they first come in, and only answering them when you sit at the desk. This is something that was really hard for me, especially when I work at home, right? And many of you might work at home too. When an email comes in, it's like, oh, I got to respond right away. No, you don't. You can respond when you first sit at the desk. And this is a hard practice to get into if you have someone who is constantly expecting immediate returns right away, right? If you're in that situation, it is absolutely okay for you to say, hey, so and so, I appreciate that you like immediate communication. Unfortunately, I have other priorities that don't allow me to communicate immediately. However, you can expect a response between this hour and this hour when I'm at my desk. That's setting healthy boundaries and allowing people to know what they can expect from you. But it's going to be up to you to really stick to those boundaries. It's hard to do these things, especially if you're already feeling burnout. So start small. Finding that harmony and that balance often means making small, sustainable changes over time. And give yourself some grace and cheer yourself on when you have wins. So if you set a boundary, if you walk out of your office on time and you don't check your email, celebrate yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, because that's hard to do when you're breaking out of this. Emotional awareness is really going to be some of the first steps towards that work-life harmony. Emotional intelligence, as we know, is super important in the workplace in almost every environment, right? The more emotionally intelligent that you are, the more you're able to relate to other people, the more you're able to understand your own emotions, and having a positive or neutral mindset really improves your work-life harmony and your emotional awareness. A way to do this is really to focus on solutions, not problems, right? And how to do that is to activate your neutral and curious mindset. We have podcast episodes on the Career Advancement Academy and on this YouTube channel for you to check out how to activate a neutral mindset, and a curiosity mindset. And we highly recommend checking into that. But when you are able to really activate that neutral and curious mindset, you are in control of your emotions instead of allowing your emotions to control you. So I ask you, if you are feeling this way, if you are tending to find that your emotions are kind of controlling your actions, how are you managing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions daily? A good way to do this is to develop habits and practices that aid in understanding how your feelings will help you to create the support and find additional resources to support you in areas that you might be lacking in. I have a good activity for us to try together, for us to really understand what our emotions are and guide ourselves towards an emotional temperature check and regulation. So let's walk through this exercise together. It was designed to help you assess what your current emotional state is in relation to your work. And it's super simple, but it's really, really powerful. In order to do this, you're going to need a quiet space, a paper, and a pen or pencil. Okay. So if you need to go and grab those things, go ahead and pause this video, come right back. I'll be right here waiting for you. So let's go ahead and begin. First, I want you to take a couple deep breaths to really center yourself. Next, I want you to reflect. Think about your current job. Visualize your daily work routine, your workspace, your interactions with your colleagues, you going through a day-to-day, maybe even a recent project that you worked on. Who were you working with? What were you working on? Next, I want you to identify and write down the emotions that you were feeling. When you think about this work, these projects, the people that you were working with, are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling fulfilled? Overwhelmed? Content? Angry? Resentful? Joyful? Write down any of the feelings that you're feeling and just write them down. Don't overthink it. Next, I want you next to each of the emotions that you wrote down, and it could be as many emotions that you feel. Take your time with this. I want you to rate the intensity of that emotion on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, I have a touch of that emotion, and 10 being, I extremely intensely feel this emotion, right? So if you are overcome with rage, I would put a 10. If you're feeling, okay, yeah. Maybe I would put like a 2 or 3 when it comes to joyful or whatever, right? This is going to help you gauge the impact your job is having on your emotional well-being and whether or not you are in control of your emotions or if they are controlling you. After that, I want you to really evaluate what aspects of your work are contributing to these emotions. Is it the project? Is it the people? Are there specific times and situations where these emotions are more intense? How do these emotions affect your work performance and your personal life? Really just sit with that for a second. And finally, I want you to set intentions, right? And I want you to not make anything too big or grandiose because we're going for small, sustainable changes here, right? Because small, sustainable changes are the ones that actually stick. So I want you to set intentions on making one small change this week to address the most intense emotion you identified. Here are some suggestions. Maybe you want to take an extra break. Maybe you want to delegate a task if you're in that position that really kind of sets you off. Maybe you want to set a clearer boundary. Maybe you want to work on communicating more clearly with someone. Whatever that small intention is, that's going to be what your focus is on this week. And next week, I want you to do this activity again and rate your emotions that come up and see what has changed. Okay? When you are working on finding harmony and balance in our work and life, right? It often means making those small and sustainable changes over time. It's not going to be a complete personality and work overhaul because that's not sustainable. It's going to be a shock to the system. And so the tweaks and adjustments that modify your work and life are what bring it together in harmony. And it's what is sustainable for you. I would love to hear from you. What was the strongest emotion that popped up for you when you did this exercise? And what is the intention that you're going to be setting for this week? I want to hear. Pop it in the comments. Let me know so that I can come back and cheer you on in this new intention. And remember, taking control of your emotional well-being, it's a critical step towards increasing your emotional intelligence, increasing harmony between your work and life, and we're here to support you on this journey. So let me know how it goes. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can be with us next year as we drop a video every single week. In January, we're going to be talking about, hey, if you didn't love your annual review, if you didn't love how this year went, let's get your stuff together so that you can take control of your career and advance your career by either finding a new job or leveraging your skills and experience towards advancing it in a new role. We are so excited to have you here. Make sure, again, that you're subscribed to the Career Advancement Academy podcast on your favorite podcast platform and to the Optimized Career Solutions YouTube channel. I'm Kara Dennison. Thank you so much for watching and have a great and happy new year.